Good morning, everybody. We'll get started here in just a second. Thanks for being here. I think we're more or less right on time. Yeah, we are. All right. All right. All right. Very good. Good morning. Hope you guys can all hear me okay. It is more or less just 2 minutes past the top of the hour here this Tuesday morning, the 12th of November. This is our Set the Market morning show here at the Study Trader. Welcome if you've never been here before. Monday through Thursday, 9 o'clock Eastern. For about 10 to 15 minutes, we go through the top couple of things that are on our radar. No BS, just straight to the point. That's what we try to do. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up. That really helps us to be able to continue this. And of course, phone call. And of course, you receive the alerts in real time of these morning shows. So let's get started. The first thing we need to go through is give you a quick update on how this Ethereum versus Bitcoin trade, and again, this could be done with ETFs, of course, how that's going. That was something that we spoke about over the past week-ish or so, I'm going to say. So that continues to work very, very well. And then I want to talk a little bit about the near-term sort of momentum where we are in the equity markets or the S&P. And then I also want to look at China, because there's probably going to start to be a lot of big moves happening in that market, particularly in those Chinese internet stocks this week. So I would say let's just quickly start with the latter matter first. So we're going to start to see a lot of earnings out of the Chinese internet stocks this week. So for some of you guys that enjoy names like Alibaba from a trading perspective, or maybe you've watched our interview with Brandon Ahern on the China story that can be traded with the KWeb ETF. Alibaba, for example, is a big point in the important holding in KWeb. If you watch that interview on here on YouTube, and if you haven't, please watch it. We did it twice. Actually, we have an update with him as well. Go remind yourself what the China story looks like and the underlying bullish tailwinds for that, which we think are still very much intact. So start looking for a lot of these names to report earnings this week. Again, Alibaba, a lot of those names out there. I don't even know all the names, but you know what I mean. So that would certainly be something on my radar this week. I think Alibaba doesn't report until Friday, so let's call that Thursday evening in the US. So that's the first thing out of the way. Let's go and talk about the whole move in Bitcoin and Ethereum. So again, we've been talking about it here, in real time for the past couple of weeks or so. And I should also mention that when we talk about Bitcoin and these things, we do make sure that people understand that a lot of people really are looking at this through the lens of ETFs. So we like the idea of being involved in those narratives with those ETFs. So, for example, IBIT is now, over the past couple of weeks or so since the breakout, is up higher by about 30%. That more or less beats any other asset class out there. But what still continues to work is the relative trade. So you've got the blue line here, which is Bitcoin or a Bitcoin ETF, same idea. And then you've got Ethereum, which is that purple line or red, whatever, and that's the Ethereum ETF. So if you look at it in this way, so this is IBIT, right? And now let's look at, for example, ETHA. This is one of those, this is the, ETF, one of the Ethereum ETFs. And so if I were to kind of overlay it here, just to keep it in the ETF spectrum, then this is what it looks like, right? So Ethereum still has a lot of potential catch up to Bitcoin, and we still think that's there. And the reason why this trade tends to work it's typically what starts to work first is kind of like the gold standard of any given asset class. And then as the rally continues, people go in ever lower quality versions of that, right? And so, like for example, in gold, people will buy gold first, and then at some point, gold miners catch up. In the world of whatever, you get the idea. It's the same thing here. Like Ethereum hasn't reached that point, and this is not a quality of the network question. It's just perception, at least. It's perceived. Bitcoin seems to be the gold standard in that world, but Ethereum is not. So that'll be catching up. But then in the end, you can have the complete nonsensical things like Dogecoin or whatever those things are. I don't think there's an ETF on that. Maybe there's a tracker of some sort that'll go as well, not because there's any value, just because it's purely speculative and they go higher. So if this continues to work, then just think about, again, that rotation into lower and lower quality. That's essentially how from if you have a trading book and a portfolio, one would want, like for example, for me, I'm long and allocated to Bitcoin. It's just a diversification thing for me, and I've owned that since like the year 2000 or something. So that's nice. So I'm not going to trade Bitcoin, but I might do some trades in an Ethereum ETF, or again, something highly speculative like buying some Dogecoin, just because the correlation gets higher and higher. The deeper we go, the more people get involved, and the riskier it becomes. And by the time your proverbial cab driver starts talking about it, Dogecoin will have rallied too, which it actually has now, and then the trade at some point will be over. So does that? If you guys have any questions on that, please let me know. That's point number 2. And then the third point is really going to be more around where we are in the S&P. And so this is an update that I think is essentially just a continued or a follow-up on what we've been talking about since the election. So once we had that initial rally out of the gates on last Wednesday, we said that, listen, on the SPY, it's probably 600. That's next. So on the S&P, 6,000. And then after that, you could probably see 620 on the SPY, 6,200 on 6,200 on the SPX, and a little bit later on this year. So at some point in the fourth quarter. But we do think it's a quite high likelihood at this point that we're going to start stagnating a bit here around the 600 mark, and on the SPY, and that's just a logical level. And if you're an Inner Circle member, we'll continue this discussion in about 10 minutes when we have our weekly live session there. If you think about Bitcoin is now at 90-ish thousand, or it was very close to that a few hours ago. The S&P 500 is at 6,000. These are just simple round levels where things tend to digest a little bit until they either are done going up or they continue. But I think with equities, I actually remain, and I mentioned this to Inner Circle members in the chat room on Friday, I'm short a little bit of S&P 500 E-mini futures basically since late Friday. And I continued throughout yesterday, and I'm still a little bit short this morning of that. It's really just a hedge. I'm going to go long again at some point soon, but that's kind of where we are. So Keith said he made a nice a profit of 55% yesterday in a China car maker. Well done, Keith. That's fantastic. So there you have it. Again, watch the Chinese stocks. Again, a lot of these guys are going to report earnings this week. That's the constituents of the K-Web ETF. If you haven't watched that podcast, go check it out on our YouTube channel. It's highly recommended you watch that or both of them we did with Brandon. He runs that ETF. Number 2 is on where we are in terms of the Bitcoin trade. Again, we do actually think Bitcoin can go higher still. It seems to me like the 100,000 mark is something that it wants to attain this side of the calendar year. Bitcoin does crazy things, so timing that very near term is difficult. But I do think that the lower grade catch up trade within that space, should also continue if Bitcoin is not yet done going up. And then last but not least, again, the S&P. We should start to see, we typically see about 20 days of upward movement after elections if people liked it. And so we're only now on day, actual trading day. This is going to be like trading day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like 4, right? Actually, no, it's 20, not 20 trading days, 20 calendar days. So it's been 6 calendar days, but we're likely going to start to see some stalling out here in the near term. So that's what we want to go through. If you are new here, again, please subscribe if you haven't done so yet to the channel. Give us a thumbs up, and we are going to meet you back here tomorrow morning. If you're an Inner Circle member, we will see you in about 8 minutes over there. We're going to start doing some live trades here this morning as well and going deeper on the inflation story. Also, I mentioned yesterday, we actually yesterday closed out a trade in Coinbase. If you are an Inner Circle member, you received a trade alert on that. I think we were, I don't know, was it a 50 or 60% gain or something like that in those options we bought on Friday in Coinbase. So we sent out a trade alert yesterday to close that to Inner Circle members. So hopefully you saw that. And also, of course, we put it in the chat room as well. Thanks for being here, folks. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Again, please subscribe and give the thumbs up because it really allows you to get the alerts on our YouTube channel in real time. You'll be alerted when we go live with new analysis, new content, new podcasts. And we'll see you back here tomorrow morning, same time, 9 o'clock Eastern. Have a great day.